History and anime, two things that you don't think would mix. They aren't exactly similar. On one hand, you got otakus who prefers 2D over 3D girls, watch anime as if it was their job, and own enough anime merch to buy a brand new car. On the other hand, you have history nerds who can tell you what color of underwear General Zhukov wore during the Battle of Berlin. And if they're rich enough, they own enough memorabilia to build their own museum. But what happens when we merge these two groups? We get historical anime. How accurate are these animes? Not accurate in the slightest. But who really cares when we get to see anime girls driving around in Panzer IVs and T-34s? I love history and anime, so if there are any animes that are even historical in the slightest, I'm going to watch them, and 9 times out of 10, I will enjoy it, even if it is the most hot piece of garbage. When I talk about historical anime, I'm talking about any anime that has barely anything to do with real life history. But they have enough historical influence where it's an integral part of the show. So, where do I even start? Let's just choose a random option. Meine Arbeit für richtig Geld. Starting off with a pretty good anime, the Saga of Tanya the Evil takes a Japanese salaryman, kills him, and puts him in the body of a little girl born in the Empire, which looks similar to 1940s Germany. This guy is basically condemned by God because he has no faith in him, even after dying and having an encounter with him. The similarities to World War II and I are so obvious, and they are impossible to miss, and even some of the characters are based on real-world historical figures. Obviously, it's not going to be entirely accurate, given that they're fighting with magic, and obviously magic wasn't in World War I. But there are parts in this anime where it's so obvious that they take from real-world historical events. Take, for example, spoilers ahead, when France loses against Germany, they decide to move to North Africa with the Free French and still fight the Germans, or the Empire as they're called, in North Africa. Besides the whole historical aspect of this anime, one of the best things of the Saga of Tanya the Evil are the fight scenes. They are really good, and especially if you like the first season, do not skip out on the movie. It has one of the greatest final fight scenes I have seen for any movie that's an anime. And I just gotta say it, this dumbass face that Tanya makes, I don't know why, but it makes me physically cringe. I hate this face, and it's everywhere. Okay, so High School Fleet is an anime I didn't finish because it's really too basic for me. Basically, it's cute anime girls riding around in historical battleships and doing other cute things. It sounds a bit similar to a different anime that I watched. What made me drop this anime was just because the cast was so big. It was some 20 plus characters, and I can only remember 2, and I vaguely remember 5 other ones. You got Mike and Munetani, the 2 characters who are important. Other than that, the story's kinda meh. Not really any major spoilers, but basically, these girls get attacked by a ship, get designated as mutineers, and they have to make their way back to the school. There might be more, but I got bored and I dropped it, and I don't have any plans to pick it up. Golden Kamuy is a pretty weird anime. It follows this guy, Sugimoto, who fought in the Japanese-Russo War, and after the war, came to Hokkaido to look for some gold. However, don't let that basic description make you think that this is a normal anime. Throughout the anime, we have a lot of weird moments. For example, this guy who is stroking his thing, and we also have this guy who skins people alive and makes clothes out of their skin and wears it like a runway model. But anyways, the main premise is that they are looking for gold, which was hidden on people's backs by carving a map on their body using tattoos. Of course, it's not just them who are looking for this gold, but other people too, like Lieutenant Tsurumi, who I love because he's just a silly little guy who got his brains blown out. There's also these fellas who want to form the Republic of Ezo, which was a real thing that happened after Japan was formed after the Tokugawa was overthrown. I also think this is the only anime from this time period, and also probably one of the only animes who show the Ainu people, which sucks because the Ainu are really cool. There's no other tribal group who is close to the Ainu. Honestly, this anime is really good, and I think I'll probably talk about it in the future if I actually get around to making videos. Okay, so I'm really stretching it with this one. There is pretty much nothing historical here except for the girls being called after historical ships, like the Yamato or the Shimakaze. And the whole anime is based after a mobile gacha game, so take that as you will. The whole plot, I think, is these girls who are ships are in high school and have to fight these monster thingies in the ocean. That plot is really shallow, and I'm sure there is probably more to it, but as it stands, it's ship girls fighting monsters. And I'm not gonna lie, the designs for these characters absolutely slap. Seeing as how it's an anime based on a gacha game, it's gonna be obvious that the characters are gonna look like this. The story though, it's really basic, but maybe if I played the game, I might actually like the anime. However, I really doubt it though.
It's a camp by at one and this fucking Auschwitz.
Hey, we don't know him.
It says amusement park 6 million and you made a fucking... Oh my god.
If you couldn't guess by my profile picture, Girls und Panzer is one of my favorite animes. Girls und Panzer is usually just summarized as cute girls riding around in tanks, but it's more than that. It's cute girls riding around in historically accurate tanks. Sometimes. Forget about how fast tanks actually are and how they can't sled on mountains for just a moment, and also how these tanks aren't killing anyone. Girls und Panzer is a sports anime, the sport being Senshado, the way of the tank, a traditional martial art in this world. The sport has been picked up by girls so they could grow up and develop characteristics to be good wives and mothers, which makes complete sense. The anime follows this girl, Miho Nishizumi, who came to Orai High School to try and escape from Senshado after a traumatic experience. Unlucky for her, Orai just reinstated the sport right as she came in. So now, we follow Miho and the Orai Senshado team to compete against different schools, all while driving around in historical tanks from every nation. Except for Russia and Italy, because who the fuck is using Italian tanks? The best thing about Girls und Panzer is honestly the schools and how each one is a caricature for each nation. And it's not something small like, I'm British and I like teas and biscuit, innit? No, the Italian school has Mussolini as their leader, the great Duce Anchovy in this case, who, don't let my profile picture misguide you, she is actually the best character in Girls und Panzer. As the story goes on, we see several different schools, each representing a different nation, like Germany, Russia, Japan, the UN. Each school has about 3 to 4 main characters, and then all the side characters. But the one thing they all have in common is, spoiler alert, losing to Orai. Yeah, there really isn't any stakes since you know who's gonna win, but the interest that comes from this anime isn't whether Orai is gonna win, but how they are going to win. Who knows, maybe in the next movie they might lose. And one more small thing, the music in this anime is a wet dream for me. Being able to listen to new renditions of old war songs like this song about onions or Panzer, it's an added treat to an already great anime. You could probably tell that this video was an excuse so that I could talk about Girls und Panzer, because I am a huge fan of cute anime girls doing the exact opposite, which is why I'm a K-On! Fan, which, funnily enough, K-On! Fans also like World War II for some strange reason.